Online for the grand opening of KBLA.store. For the best in new merch, gift ideas, books, media, and more, log on to KBLA.store. Be sure to check out our KBLA team favorites at KBLA.store today. That's KBLA.store for all the official merch on your favorite talk radio station, KBLA Talk 1580.
Last time that I checked, it was 5 chains on my neck. It was no smut on my rep. Last time that I checked, I was selling in the set. Make $250,000, no sweat. Last time that I checked, I'm the streets voice out west. Legendary self-made progress. Last time that I checked, first you get the money, then respect, then the power and the come next. Last time that I checked, I've been self-made from the dribble. I was been saying I'm a killer. Nah, playing no games with you. Pop clutch, switch lanes on you. Nah, I laid down the game for you. Taught you how to charge more than what they paid for you. On the whole thing for you.
Welcome back to RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. Of course, we had to give it up to Nipsey Hussle. It will be his 38th birthday today. LA classic right there. Last time that I checked with 2 C's. Just saying, that's how it's spelled. Anyway, you are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. Shout out to the YouTube chat. Agnes Positive Thinker says, hello, Jill Munroe. You are doing an amazing show. God bless. Thank you so much for locking in and checking us out here. This is a show where we give you all the trending topics and headlines across entertainment, sports, lifestyle, and culture. Welcome to Hour 2. We still have a lot to discuss because, you know, they keep us busy out there. It's a lot in the news. So before we get into some of these stories, I thought this would be another interesting point to bring up. I mentioned it a little bit. We spoke last night about Michael Oher. He was the subject of the film The Blind Side, and he is suing his adoptive, air quotes, family. He said that they tricked him into signing conservatorship papers where they are in charge of, responsible for, allowed to negotiate on his behalf his name, image, and likeness. He said that he received no payment from the movie The Blind Side, but both of the parents did, and their 2 biological children. And so he's saying that he was misled. He wasn't given the proper guidance from them, and he is suing them. So they have come out and said that his claims are bogus and that he attempted a $15 million shakedown before this court filing. They're claiming that before Michael made the outlandish, hurtful, and absurd allegations about them in court Monday, he actually tried to shake them down for $15 million. So this could get ugly. He's retired from the NFL. We know NFL technically stands for not for long. So I'm not really sure how much he made in career earnings. The fact that he did not receive a dime, even though I know he was already established in the NFL for the film The Blind Side, seems kind of strange to me. I mean, it is based off of his life. It seems like he should have gotten something. And if they were acting in his best interest, I feel like as a family, no matter if he's making his money from the NFL, you should have broken him off something. However, they claim that they are innocent, that they are unsure. Well, they're not really saying they're unsure. I think they're implying that he's having financial issues. But we will see what comes of this case. I mean, obviously, if what they are saying is true, then all the paperwork will be in order. All their I's will be dotted and T's crossed, and they can verify through legal documents the standing, the conversations, and this should be something that can be taken care of rather quickly. But we know how these things can go. So we will be waiting and seeing and watching it all develop out. So next topic. If you've heard about these different courses that are offered in college surrounding music and certain artists to structure to study whether it's the structure of their songs or the phenomenon behind them. We've seen them especially regarding Tupac and some other rappers. Well, add another pop star to the mix. And I thought this was interesting just because we've been hearing a lot about this woman, obviously, because she's a big pop star. And secondly, because her fans, the Swifties, have been going up against the Beehive in the battle for the top summer concert series. I'm not sure who's in the lead. We know that Beyonce right now is, I think they said, on track to do over 500 million with this tour, which would be one of the largest in her career. Not sure how that stacks up against others, but there is a course being offered at the Arizona State University this fall called The Psychology of Taylor Swift: Advanced Topics of Social Psychology. Now, in the course, they said that they will utilize Taylor Swift's songs to look at social issues impacting the different phases of the topic. So they will use them to get concepts across, like jealousy, family dynamics, gossip, relationships, revenge, etc. Because in theory, there's a Taylor Swift song that matches up to each of these themes, and they hope to help the students become more connected to the material and expand the knowledge of the subject. So Alexandra Warmley, she is the person responsible for creating the course and putting the class together. She said she's not a Taylor Swift fan, just that she heard two of her research assistants discussing Taylor Swift, and they jokingly made a suggestion, and she thought it would be interesting. She said she actually hopes that a good number of the people that take the class aren't Swift fans, because it's not about the artist per se, but about the concepts that can be derived from her songs. So, just like I said, we've heard about there being courses on Tupac and his life and his music. Do you think that utilizing pop music or even pop culture is a viable way to sort of teach out concepts? I do. I think it makes things very relatable. I think that it is an easy reach for people to connect to. Now, I don't know if I, per se, would take a Taylor Swift class, not for any other reason than just, here's the thing. I will say this. I'm not a Taylor Swift fan, but I have heard some songs that were not bad. They were not bad. Bad Blood, that song was pretty nice. Is that the one that had Kendrick and Nicki on the remix? Yeah, that was kind of fire. And then there's some other stuff. I think that was one of her first collaborations with hip hop only. We all know the history that she had with Kanye West and their sort of tiff after the stage, and she felt like she was scorned, and then she came back without the album, and she was getting her revenge on Kim and Kanye through the music. That's one of the topics that they'll discuss in the course. So I guess it makes sense, because in breaking down these conversations and these situations, I guess you can get the heart of some psychological issues, because we all claim some of these people have them. I'm only joking about that, but you can look at different scenarios, and so I think that it would be interesting. So who would you like to have a course on their music and their lifestyle? Andy, I'm going to ask you that question. Is there any musical artist, performer that you think that you would be interested in taking a semester-long course on, and what would you be interested in learning from the course?
I know they got courses about Tupac, so I definitely would like to take a class on Tupac. Jay-Z, for sure.
Okay.
And the class is just based on their content, correct?
Well, here's the thing. It could be based on many different things. This particular class, they're using her songs to teach concepts. But if you could create a course around Jay-Z or Pac, what aspects would you be interested in doing a deep dive into?
Everything.
Everything?
I mean, like
personal life, business, all of that?
Business for sure. A little bit of history as well, too. I think history is important. I was never really a history guy. I hated history, actually. But, as I got older and, being a black man in America, I think it's imperative that you have a little bit of history knowledge, just because it can guide you to your future.
I think what is that old phrase? Those that don't know their past are doomed to repeat it. I absolutely believe that there is some cause to that. I and probably the opposite. I've always kind of loved history and had an interest in it. Don't know why, just took to it. I like looking for patterns though, and I think that if you have enough of a sample size to look back, doesn't mean I'm going to look back over everything, but if you have enough of that to look back over, it gives you an idea, maybe not word for word or line for line where you're headed, but sort of the idea and feeling and consensus in the way that we move. I mean, look at it. You see that even with the music movement, with politics, you see that with the swing back to from very extreme openness, freedom to now, it sort of feels like we're being, in a lot of ways, pulled back into a more conservative era, even though we got Pound Town out there, whatever's pink, my whatever is brown. I mean, it's just sort of an interesting dichotomy when you look at it, because I think we're at two extremes. And without a doubt, you know that it has to come back to a more conservative place, just because that's just what momentum does.
And, that's why, I was kind of joking, but at the same time being serious. Just like looking at history and just kind of like where we're at right now. I don't really truly have a strong faith in humanity. You know what I mean? Just considering just a lot of the differences that we have in this world. And, if you're a believer, the stuff that's occurring right now, you probably would say that this is indicative of the signs of the time.
Mm-hmm. that last book in the Bible. Mm-hmm. It does seem like there are themes that seem to fit in to that, That's a conversation for another day, and probably someone that is more well-versed in all aspects of that than me, But I will say I cannot disagree with you on what it looked like.
I mean, it's just, we're talking about history. We're actually waking up. But, we have sections of America that wants us to stay asleep. Like, for real? Crazy.
I mean, we really are. If you look at some of the things that we're facing, where we are as far as our rights, just with where we have gone back to and sort of have to start over. What is happening with the books thing? Did you ever think in your lifetime that there would be a period of time where books would start to be banned again? I mean, I thought when we talked about that and looked at that, we all agreed that that was ridiculous.
They need to ban some of these textbooks that's currently in school, quite frankly. Because if you guys are still teaching that Christopher Columbus founded America, you already lying to us off the rip.
It's just, I mean, it's an interesting time, because at least I don't think in my lifetime, like for me, there's this game called Cards Against Humanity. I don't know if you've ever played it, but I remember one time we were at a game night party that a friend will have. And so we had a really long and deep conversation about which they felt did more harm to the Black community. And so, Andy, I'm going to put this question to you. Slavery or rap music? And I know it seems crazy. Yeah. And I know it seems crazy on its surface, but in the conversations, the people that felt like, slavery, obviously it's atrocities and whatever, but they felt that rap music was a choice that we are making, and that everything that we fought for, right, in that period, in those time frames. And then, of course, for fun, they threw another thing in the mix. They said slavery, drugs, or rap music. So that went, 9 million different ways. But essentially their point was that it was a choice. And when some of those people, those civic leaders warned us, like C. Dolores Tucker or whatever, in those earlier times, that people should have heeded their messages a little bit more and paid more attention to it. I don't know if I agree with that. I know that there are things that have gotten out of control. Maybe the women of that time should have been more cognizant of and recognized, oh, they're calling them the B word. They're calling us all the B word. They don't just mean that girl over there. But I also think that sometimes they really do mean that girl over there. And we all know that girl over there that we like, yo.
Tatiana's, man.
She tripping. You know what I mean? Like, she got to stop. So I think that is something that, listen, with age there is wisdom, but you got to get to the age first to get the wisdom. So you only know what you know at the time. And though I think that on one hand, I think there obviously were people, women that took those things seriously. I also think that it was a release, and the overall feeling, aesthetic, time, thought was very different. And so we've evolved from that and moved on.
And that was a question that was on the game, correct?
Yes.
Okay, no wonder. Because you can't correlate rap music and I mean, you can connect them together, right? You can you can say the cause and the effect, but those are like two different things on opposite sides of the spectrum. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that's kind of easy. But considering the times that we live in today and how we talk about hip hop a lot and how it's, it affects our community or whatnot, I can see how some people will look at hip hop and be like, yeah, hip hop is somewhat of a detriment to society. But I'm not gonna go ahead and acknowledge that, because I'm gonna say all forms of rebellious type of music can be negatively influenced. All right, so let's not just put the microscope on hip hop now.
I mean, I agree with that. And I think that we forget a lot of what gave rise to hip hop was a rebellion, was a counterculture of wanting to feel something different and express something different again, even in their moments. We talked about how early gangster rap was called reality rap and things of that nature. So I think that the need for things changes. And it's interesting to me now how so much of what is looked back on, it's looked back on to take it apart and to punish somebody for that. And that's a strange thing to me, because you cannot re-edit. I mean, I guess you could re-edit whatever you want to, but you can't retell the past because it's what happened. It's what was there. You can't go back and put today's current sensibilities, ideologies on what was going on then, because it wasn't happening then.
I think this is why the other culture wants to kind of get rid of the wokeness, so to speak. Just like you said, because today's generation, not our people, but them, right? They don't want to have to suffer for their ancestors' actions. I mean, you pointed it out right there, but it's still important to at least have that history, though. But it's tough, because I can understand why they want to erase that history.
Right.
Right. I get it, because it's more.
They're like, I didn't do it, so I don't. I wasn't out there. Not my fault.
And they do feel like the rhetoric might be a little bit divisive. If we don't educate these folks about that, at least moving forward, people can just. It'll be more of a humanity thing more so than race, but that's tough. I mean, history is definitely important. I wouldn't want to erase that.
I don't see how can learning about something that happened. I mean, I guess I understand if you have empathy and people take on those emotions, but realistically, just saying this is what happened at this time, this is what they were thinking, they were wrong, and keep that thing moving. I don't get this big, overwhelming white guilt cloud that is hanging over them, because I mean, I think about when I was in school, right? Like Roots was came on TV at some point, and that was pretty brutal, especially for the time period. We talked about slavery in school, right? And people would make jokes about it, but there was no disconnect in thinking it was you. Like, I just think that the over-infantilization of children, even at their ages, it's just a very strange time to me, because kids are exposed to so much, and yet we want to keep them at these younger mind states, even though they're exposed to so much.
And the reality is, it's only so much that a parent can do, considering that they're growing up with technology. You know what I'm saying? That their information is right there at their hands. So yeah, unique times.
Different times. We'll see what's going on. Thomas Outlaw in the chat said Prince and his music negotiations with Warner Brothers and General Music business moves. I think that was probably about a comment about something we were speaking of earlier.
About the classes.
Oh, okay. The classes. Got it. Okay, I forgot. Prince would be a great one, especially during his symbol era, because he was one of the first ones to speak out about unfair contracts as far as the music industry and what those contracts meant for a creative long term? Andy, I see your face.
I just thought about some other individuals that I probably will take a course of. Master P.
Okay.
And I just blanked out on the other dude.
So you know what's interesting about Master, and I feel like I may have told this story, but if I did, I don't know. When I worked at BET, Master P had some business that he wanted to discuss with the head of the network one night, and so his assistant was out, but there was a temp in. And I think for whatever reason, I was working later that night. Not really late, like 7 or 8 o'clock. Well, BET had security to get in, obviously, because sometimes people are a little crazy. And so on this particular night, Master P felt like the head of the network had been dodging his calls. I don't know if he had been dodging his calls, but he's the head of a network, so he's probably busy, like whatever. So Master P decided he was going to come up to BET. He pushed his way past the security and came back and sat in that executive's office waiting area until he could speak to him, because he was like, nope, I think you're playing games with me. Nope, I don't have time for this. So I'm going to come and sit right here. So I say all that to say that Master P is an interesting one to have to think about doing business with.
He's from the streets.
He's from the streets. So he's going to handle it a street way. I think I shared when we were talking about early about like executives in hip hop that I thought for the longest time initially that Master P was from the Bay Area, because that's where a lot of his distribution was. Mm-hmm. That's where his music got big. Yeah. And that's how, like, from the, Bay down to LA, that's how I heard his music. When I finally found out that he was actually from New Orleans, that was a shock to me, especially because his music and Silk, they basically, low-key ripped off Pac's flow early on,
Oh, of course, who didn't?
But listen, as much as we love the No Limit Soldiers and what have you, we're not going to act like that lyrical prowess or super originality was their strength.
They still impacted the game.
They
sure,
did.
though.
No. I love
Master
No
P
Limit.
put Snoop Dogg on. When you hear interviews from Snoop Dogg, he was like, Master P taught me how to do this. Master P got me a house, this, that, and the third.
No, I'm not saying Snoop said when he got down to New Orleans, Master P was like, here's a house. Here, I'm not just giving you this or whatever. I'm making sure that you can live, and then we will get all of this going. Shout out to Shannon Thompson in the chat. She said Master P is bout it. He is like in real life. So, shout out to him. He put it down. Business is business. When we come forward, we'll have more trending topics and headlines, all that and more. You're listening to RSVP on KBLA Talk 1580.
RSVP with Jill Munroe is your go-to show for staying in the know. More engaging conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm David Goldberg, a bilingual elementary school teacher and president of the California Teachers Association. As we start a new school year, there's something new happening in California's public schools. They're called community schools, where families, students, educators, and communities are making decisions as one.
As a parent, I feel like we're really valued as partners in the education system.
Community schools are bridging the systems of academics with the community.
The curriculum is designed around the students and their academic needs.
I know community schools are working. We see it in parent involvement. We see it in student academics.
We saw double-digit gains in math, English, and reading scores.
It's a more innovative, holistic approach to educating students.
I really feel like this is the first time that we're really seeing a system change in our school.
It's innovative, fresh, and they're already working.
We invite you to learn more about community schools as we come together to reimagine public education here in California. And that's why CTA brought you this message.
Attention taxpayers. Ready for some bad news? With $80 billion in new funding from Congress, the IRS has launched their most aggressive hiring campaign ever to ramp up enforcement. If you're ignoring your taxes, don't delay another minute, because your paycheck, your bank account, even your home or business could already be at risk. Now, here's the good news. Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax relief firm, can get to work immediately helping to protect you from the IRS. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Their tax attorneys and licensed professionals are experts at resolving tax problems. Let them help determine if you qualify for the Fresh Start Initiative or other powerful IRS tax assistance programs. Take control. Call Optima Tax Relief now for a free consultation.
Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about. KBLA Talk 1580 joins you in standing for education as a right, not a privilege. Charles R. Drew University of Medicine and Science is a private, non-profit, community-founded, student-centered university committed to cultivating diverse health profession leaders who are dedicated to social justice and health equity for underserved populations. CDU does this through outstanding education, clinical service, and community engagement. Recently, Charles Drew University made history by opening only the 5th medical school at an historically black university. Congratulations, South LA, and congratulations to the Dean of the medical school, Dr. Deborah Protho-Stith. CDU is now training doctors and providing $90 million in annual economic benefit to Watts and surrounding neighborhoods. To apply for medical school, get more information, or sign your child up for the Junior Doctors Saturday School program, visit cdrewu.edu. That's cdrewu.edu. At KBLA, we are dedicated to equity in education and ending healthcare apartheid, and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, keeping you informed, entertained, and always ahead of the curve. This is RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Welcome, Forge. You are checking out RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. So I mentioned that there is a lawsuit that took place involving several universities as far as what has been dubbed a price-fixing cartel. The University of Chicago has agreed to pay $13.5 million to students after being accused of participating in a price-fixing cartel with other prestigious universities to limit financial aid. So also named in this suit, and these are big-name colleges, okay? These aren't little ones. It's Brown University, California Institute of Technology, Columbia University, Cornell University, Dartmouth, Duke, Emory University, that's a big law school, Georgetown, MIT, Northwestern, University of Notre Dame, University of Pennsylvania, Rice, Vanderbilt, and Yale. So all of those colleges have been accused of joining together to sort of band together to limit what the availability is as far as financial aid. This story is kind of going under the radar. I urge you to pay attention to it because much like we were discussing before, it's a sign of the times and things that are changing, and they're coming for us. They're trying to impact the wokeness in whatever way they can, and education is a big, big battleground for all of this. When we come forward, we will have more trending topics and headlines. You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. News and sports are up next.
Every in these streets trying to feed the babies. The single mamas working hard not to miss a payment. And dirty money get washed on royalty statements. Black owners in this game are powerful racists. Young then the set just doing it makeshift out the garage. It's how you end up in Georgia. It's how you end up in penthouses, end up in cars. It's how you start off a curb server, end up a boss. It's how you win the whole thing and lift up a cigar with sweat dripping down your face. Cause the mission was
Trending topics and the hottest happenings. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Esther Dillard, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. 2 black defendants are among the 19 people facing charges with former President Donald Trump in an alleged attempt to overturn the results in the 2020 election. One is named Travian Kuti, who is a black Chicago-based publicist who used to work for black entertainer Kanye West. The other is Harrison Ford, the leader of a group called Black Voices for Trump. News outlets report Kuti and Floyd are charged with violating Georgia's RICO laws that prohibit racketeering, among other charges. Newsweek reports Floyd tried to influence the testimony of Ruby Freeman, a Fulton County election worker, before the Georgia grand jury investigation. Forbes magazine reports Coochie worked with Floyd to contact Freeman as well. Black Fulton County District Attorney Fonnie Willis said she'll seek a trial date within 6 months. And that's the latest. I'm Esther Dillard from the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Looking for your next job? Express can help. Express Employment Professionals has put more than 10 million people to work in the last 40 years in all types of industries. With competitive pay and no fee to help you find a job, what are you waiting for? Visit expresspros.com today.
Gotta stay fresh, my. I don't shop with a rest bar.
Have you visited us online for the grand opening of KBLA.store? For the best in new merch, gift ideas, books, media, and more, log on to KBLA.store. Be sure to check out our KBLA team favorites at KBLA.store today. That's KBLA.store for all the official merch on your favorite talk radio station, KBLA Talk 1580.
The bounce is back.
Are you looking to steer your career in a new direction? Driving for the Culver City Bus can be your ticket to a long-lasting career with excellent benefits and paid training. Culver City Bus is looking for customer service and safety-minded bus operators to join the growing team. Culver City Bus offers on-the-job paid training, uniform allowance, and health benefits. Culver City Bus are now even putting their money in your pocket with a one-time $2,500 sign-on bonus. Let us connect you with an essential service job. If you enjoy driving, seek real opportunities for career advancement, and passionate about making a difference in your community, then we invite you to join the team. Start your journey by submitting an application at culvercity.org/job. For more information, visit culvercitybus.com or call the live customer service operator at 310-253-6500. Again, 350-253-6500.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
The rent is too damn high. KBLA joins you in calling for affordable housing. The LA Tenants Union is a diverse, tenant-led movement fighting for the human right to housing for all. The LA Tenants Union demands safe, affordable housing and union rent control. They organize against landlord harassment, mass evictions, and displacement, and mobilize for the repeal of the Ellis Act and Costa-Hawkins Act. The LA Tenants Union is on a mission to strengthen tenants' political power through education, advocacy, and direct action. To get help with your eviction or other landlord-tenant issues, take action for justice, or become a member, visit latenantsunion.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine. It can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
Some people won't give you the real talk on drugs, but it's time we know the facts. Fentanyl is killing people. It's a powerful opioid, often made illegally and commonly mixed with illicit drugs. It can even be pressed into counterfeit pills that resemble prescription medications. Just 2 milligrams, about the size of a few grains of sand, could potentially be lethal. This isn't an ad to scare you, but it is an ad to make you think twice. Get the facts. Go to realdealonfentanyl.com. This message is brought to you by the Ad Council.
Dominique DePrima for KBLA Talk 1580. Are you worried about your credit score? Well, look, you can rebuild it. There are lots of factors that go into determining your credit score, but one of the most effective ways to improve your score is to consistently pay your bills on time, over time. If you're forgetful about payments like me, try automating your bill payments. That way all your creditors get paid on time and you'll have freed yourself of trying to remember. Whatever your financial goals, U.S. Bank Access Commitment Initiatives can help support you in reaching them. Access your financial goals at usbank.com/access. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. Curating the most compelling stories and delivering them straight to your ears. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Gotta let it vibe. Do people still say played on me anymore? That is so old school. Shout out to Missy, shout out to Timbaland, shout out to Magoo, shout out to 702 for those harmonies. Beat Me 911. That was a bop in its time. You are listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. No, but for real, I'm serious for a second. Do people really say he played on me? Like, I just had a flashback moment when they said that. I'm like, oh my God. First I was like, wait, what does that mean? Oh, cheated. Okay.
Played out. But I don't know about played
on me. Yeah. No, played on me. That means he was cheating. Like, that's so funny how language changed and evolves or whatever. That's just a side, but shout out to him. Again, rest in peace to Magoo. 50 is far too young to pass away. So
I remember the other artist that I'd like to go to school with.
Let's hear.
E40.
E40, okay, especially you think about Goon with a Spoon, how he has gone from, I don't know if E40 was a street pharmacist. I think he might have been.
I believe he was. Sprinkle Me.
Sprinkle Me, man. Sprinkle. That was my song. Mm-hmm. Sugar Tea, Sprinkle Me. Oh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Anyway. Man, like what he did in the Bay, E40 used to have this song called I Practice Looking Hard, and another one, Me Muggin'. Like these are early right. E40 cuts. But and now E40 is almost mainstream. He's he's not like Snoop, but I liken him to Snoop in the way that he has penetrated mainstream. I mean, E40 has a wine, right?
Yep, Earl Stevens.
He has, like I mentioned, Goon with the Spoon, cookbook, and an ice cream line. I mean, come on, man.
And he seems to be kind of like a Warrior / 49ers ambassador.
Ambassador, for sure. He is definitely an ambassador to all Bay Area sports. And so, I mean, it just shows you if you are allowed the grace to get older, what you start off with, because I'm sure many people, these same organizations may not have wanted to deal with him or probably felt like he might have been bad for their environment or element at the time. And now look at him, they're clamoring.
And when has he ever not been relevant?
That is very true.
I mean,
he's regional. He's been consistent. Now he is regional. I'll say, obviously not for me. I just named off, early 90s stuff. So I'm deep in the trenches. But I do realize that, there are some songs, maybe a song or two like that, maybe 3 that you would get played from like down south or New York. They would I know that. But they kind of have some weird feelings about E40. I don't know if you remember when he did the verses, if you saw some of the commentary from some of the, non-West Coast people or people that just didn't have an appreciation for what Earl was dropping.
Okay, so what a lot of people don't know, what I'm saying, if you're not that much of a hip-hop fan, when you think about E40's My Ghetto Report Card, that was almost every track was produced by Lil Jon. That was a down south producer. You know what I mean? And I want to push maybe a little back on your regional statement. Bless you.
Excuse me. But is it, okay, and I'm going to interrupt you and you come in with this, but is it that I don't know if it was the beats, I mean, maybe some West Coast beats, but don't you think their feeling was they felt like he was gibberish and making up words because they couldn't get with the wordplay that E40 had?
Talking about folks from down south?
Yeah, down south.
They should be the last ones talking.
I know, but I'm just saying,
No disrespect, though.
No disrespect at all. Like every region has their strengths and uniqueness. That's what makes us all different, and like how we can visit through there. But I'm saying I don't know if they have as much appreciation for that. I don't think it was the beats. I think it was,
Okay, in that aspect, I'm with you. The only reason I was going to push back a little bit is because, and to your point, I can't say that I've seen many Southern MCs collaborate with E40, but I've definitely seen some East Coast cats like Fab. I can't think of anybody else. Biggie. If I'm not mistaken. Well, that's Tupac. He's from the West Coast, but a legend.
I mean, I like E40. I remember seeing E40 at Summer Jam. He, little glasses flipped down. The West Coast has its own vibe. And like I said, I really appreciate business. I appreciate the evolution, making moves, especially when you come into the music business. We know, and we can have a conversation at some point, and by we, I mean you, the listener, too, not just talking about Andy, about the music industry and if it is as treacherous as people make it out to be. Because it is, but at the same time, I think people forget that it is also a business. And where, in what place is someone putting up and funding your whole operation so that you can record and put the music out and tour and not expect them to get anything back or earn a profit? Now, we can talk about the profit margin and what that should be, because, of course, there should be some adjustments. I definitely think that. But sometimes I feel like not a lot, but some of the complaints regarding the music industry and the contract situations is really just business. Because if you try to do it yourself as an independent artist, you know what that cost is. You know how difficult that is. You know how priceless sometimes those relationships and connections are. Even sometimes if you have the funding to put it through, you can't get that connection through because for whatever reason, they may not be messing with you.
All I'm going to say is I'm with you 100%, but I think artists like E40, rest in peace, Nipsey Hussle.
Yep.
And I want to say Master P, and I want to say La Russell right now is showing that you can be independent and not have that strong of a budget and still be able to connect and still have a strong connection with your region.
I know you were absolutely right about that, but you have to be committed and you have to be creative and think out the box.
100%.
Because if you're thinking La Russell and using Nipsey, we talked about the $1,000 mixtape.
It was $100.
$100 mixtape, but he only made 1,000 of them. Is that what it is? Or
I believe so.
Like that.
And Jay-Z bought 100 of them, which was like $10K, I guess.
Right.
Something like that.
So, that was unique at the time. Nobody had heard of it. And then you saw a bunch of people trying to copycat it afterwards. We know La Russell, he has the pay what you want model. Whatever you think that it is worth, pay me for that, and I appreciate you for that, and I will keep coming forward. He does that with his shows, too, and it has worked really well. But with him, as well as with Nipsey, the difference is authentically connecting to their bases and understanding who their fans are and their fans understanding who they are. And I think with a lot of these artists, they don't really have those relationships deep down inside with their core audiences.
They're just making music for the sake of making music.
Maybe, we've talked about that, how some people, it's just a part of the kit. It's just something to do. It's not really for the artistry, or there's not a connection to the fans. It's just a desire to be popular. Shout out to Urban Spinster in the chat. She said, my neighborhood was just bumping Hurricane, Slurricane this AM. Hurricane, but you could call it Slurricane. All right, okay.
Last thing I wanted to say is that it must be something in that water in the Bay, right? Tupac, right? He went from the East Coast. He went to the Bay. He kind of became a man in that space, right? Master P traveled from New Orleans, set up shop in the Bay, and he blew up. I don't know if a lot of people know about the Game story. The Game is he was, doing his thing and whatnot. Of course, he had Compton sold, but it wasn't until he went to the Bay where he kind of got like his first break.
Really?
You know
I
what I'm
didn't
saying?
know
So
that about Gang.
I don't know what it is about the Bay. You know, the Black Panthers. It's something about the Bay where people just like they turn from a boy into a man. I can't speak
the
on
Bay
it.
is the home of the pimps, players, and hustlers. I will say that. I mean, and that is a fact. Do you know what I'm saying? Jacking my pants, popping my collar, and jacking my slacks. What?
Okay.
Don't, baptized in the Bay waters. What are you saying?
Silicon Valley.
That's that real pimping that goes on up there. Sorry, just kidding. But no, I do think that the Bay Area is a hustler's mentality, especially in Oakland and that region. It's always been known as such, and that they get down to the dough. We do down here in LA too. I just think it's two different vibes. There's a different vibe in Northern and Southern California. And, we can play nice or we can separate and do our own thing, but still respect each other. I think that is neat. Speaking of a Bay to LA connection, Victoria Monet, she dropped new visuals today for her On My Mama single. It features a sample of, or I guess an interlope, inspired by the song from Charlie Hood, On My Mama, On My Hood. I look fly. I look good. Listen, I'm going to let y'all know and not be shy about it. I can't sing. I can a little bit. I could at one point in time, but I can't really anymore. But I'm going to try, and I'm going to give you these vocals when necessary, and you are going to like them. Thank you very much. But Victoria Monet dropped vocals, and people are going crazy. It had the internet buzzing because she paid homage to the early 2000s videos like Sierra. You can see the inspiration in that. Maybe Destiny's Child Soldier. She played also... she gave inspiration. Well, she showed inspiration from some popular memes. So, the memes with the two women with their handbags, purses, they're going somewhere. She had a little dance sequence that featured that. She also had, I don't know if you guys remember this rapper, Katie Got Bands. Can't remember if she was from Chicago or the Midwest, but she had a little underground bubbling hit back in the day. And the video was really what people got going because she was in there with a pistol, just like holding it up by her face. And the song was something like, the song was not it. I'm going to just say that. But the visuals were just so kind of, what is this? Maybe not now, but I think this was about 10, 12 years ago. Katie Got Bands, look her up. Anyway, the director of the video was Sean Bankhead. No, that's Sean Bankhead is the choreographer. He's been on the scene putting up a lot of your favorites. So the choreography is amazing. Like I told you, she pays homage to the early 2000s culture. There's some HBCU culture thrown in there with the Divine Nine, street style. Like, it's a really good visual video. Victoria is a performer. She's written some of your favorite hits, some songs by both pop and your R&B vocals. Some of her pop stuff includes a lot of Ariana Grande stuff for that group, the Korean pop supergroup Blackpink, K-pop. They're really big, and others. And then, of course, a lot of her own hits like Coastin'. So check that out. I really advocate for Victoria Monet. Her live performances are incredible. When we come forward, of course, we'll have more trending topics and headlines. You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Infusing a sense of fun and entertainment in every episode. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As black folk, we know how to face tragedy and not fall into despair. And yet sometimes the points of pain are felt so acutely, especially when we know full well that we're being treated unfairly by our so-called justice system that at times appears to be anything but just. After more than 30 years of public service, Mark Willie Thomas is set to be sentenced on Monday, August 21st, for his conviction on bribery and conspiracy in a federal corruption trial. As you well know, Willie Thomas was found not guilty on 12 of the 19 counts the feds brought against him. This is not your typical corruption case. No lavish trips, no victim, no cash in a brown bag or stashed away in a freezer, no illegal contributions from a wealthy donor, no money received by the accused, no use of taxpayer dollars. There is therefore no need to incarcerate Ridley Thomas to protect the community. Indeed, the probation department has recommended a mere 18-month sentence. But the feds, they want MRT to serve 6 years. 6 years. How is that fair? This happens far too often to defendants who just happen to look a lot like you and me. First, they target you. Then they overcharge you. Then they fight to keep certain folk off the jury. Then they spend millions of your tax dollars prosecuting a victimless $100,000 criminal allegation. Then, typically, they win, and why shouldn't they? In reality, no case of the United States government against you is really a fair trial, if you feel me. Then, after they win, they ask for a sentence of more than 3 times what the probation department is recommending. Again, I ask, how is that fair? I read the federal government's summary document regarding the sentencing of MRT, and the charged language they use is both revealing and despicable. You can clearly see their disdain for the constituent community, for the black clergy who have stood with MRT, and mostly for MRT, daring to exercise his constitutional right to even go to trial to defend himself. The feds demanding a 6-year sentence in this case is their way of punishing an uppity Negro who dared to fight back. Let's hope that the judge in this case sees through this racist masquerade and delivers a sentence of time commensurate with the crime, even as MRT appeals this verdict. There are no good times to be black in America, and sometimes are worse than others. For KBLA Talk 1580, I'm Tavis Smiley. We welcome your comments.
Now back to more captivating conversation on RSVP with Jill Munroe.
You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. So we were talking a little bit about hip-hop, the hustle from there, the Bay, and so forth before we came forward. And I want to play a clip from Vince Staples. In a recent interview, Vince was talking about the music industry currently. And it is his position that the reason why we hear so much or see so much of the sameness in hip-hop right now is basically because that's what the audience is checking in for. And that, you know, if the audience were checking for a different inspiration, a different type of music, the artist would provide that. So let's hear more about Vince's thoughts.
Young rap about crack and things like that because they want to hear black people talk about crime. Because black people are crime to people that's not black and to black people as well. So you gotta look a certain way, act a certain way, or if you don't act like that, you won't make it. That's why. And everybody know that's why. We just pretend it's the culture, and then we want to be sad when bad happen, and it's you know, it's
gotta be genuine.
No, it don't have to be genuine because it's not just nobody say nothing because you know you people who popping. But you know, it's a very hypocritical nature to things. That's why if you was talking about Jay-Z, that's different because that's his life. I'm talking. I thought you meant just as far as like, because I know that's a critique you get a lot. But if you're talking about like as far as like music in general, like if somebody came out talking about they want to be an astronaut, ain't nobody playing that. So like we can't really blame the artist for doing what's gonna get them out of poverty. Like you know, like that's why people do this. We can't pretend it's people nowadays. It's like, oh man, I grew up, you know, studying the 5 elements of hip hop, spinning on my head all day. Like no, people trying to get rich. So
how much does that background still define you? Because I mean, I think that's
I really gangbang.
Yeah.
So it's different for me. Like I don't wear my security guard, wear my entourage. Like came by myself. You know the difference between people that do things and that don't. But the thing is, this industry is, you see they got that kind of edge to them. You're gonna be like, oh yeah, let's pay attention to them because that is what we see as. It's like if you're trying for the basketball team and you 6'8", you on the team. They can figure the rest out because you got the natural gifts that make you successful. It's like how people say, oh man, we turned all these streets, got out the streets and turned to rap. Like you don't think that's ironic that that's everybody's story? So who you think making the story?
But you feel like you can still always draw from that and tell that story, tell that upbringing.
Well, yeah, because that's my life. But I know it's a bad thing. I don't think it's good. Like if I get cracked tomorrow and end up having to go to jail, I'm not gonna be like I didn't do nothing. You get what I'm saying? Because I'm not ignorant to like my background. I changed the way I be doing shit. Like I don't be really around no more. But I'm not gonna be ignorant to that thing. But it's like in the same breath, it's like when you think about how we treat artists, we can't be like, oh man, you keeping it real. This is a real, the that we care about them. When somebody go chip something, they be like, oh man, that was stupid. Why you do that? But that's what we were saying we liked. Or when somebody go to jail, it's like, oh, they got it out for us type shit. Like, come on, bro. Like, sooner or later, we got to grow the up and like use some confidence.
So those are Vince's thoughts. I mean, he said a lot there, but it is true. On one hand, we are responsible for what we are consumers of. I know that there's a lot of debate, chicken or egg, is whoever the hidden entities are. They are only pushing a certain style and type of music to us because they want to take us down from within. Possibly, but I also think that in business, people chase the green. And you might have one nefarious figure, but that's not going to control the entire industry. And if we aren't open to it, if that's not what we want to hear, then that is not what is going to thrive. I mean, I will tell you, there are certainly songs that I think are fun, or I may just like the beat of, or I might even like the lyrics, but I don't take that artist seriously. I'm probably not going to be a real consumer of their music. I'm not going to follow their career and things like that, but they might have a one-off or a pop. I don't think that every bit of every piece of music I listen to has to feed me in that manner. But I also am not naive enough to think that it's the audience sometimes that are craving, unfortunately, no matter how we look at it, some of these type of artists. And no matter if you're saying, no, they're pushing this, we don't have to accept it, and we choose to. So, Andy, you look like you have something to add to this conversation.
100%. I agree with you. I think it's just indicative of society, not even just hip-hop per se. Society as a whole, we gravitate towards negativity, point blank, period. Like, I remember, I guess there was a story about CNN's, their ratings were dropping and whatnot. Who do they put up on their platform? Donald Trump, one of the most toxic individuals in the world. And what happened? Ratings went through the roof. That's just what it is. We are attracted to drama.
Facts.
Point blank, period. A lot of the trending topics that we discuss on a lot of these shows here, based off of drama, negativity. When have we ever had a show where we just talked about everything all positive?
I mean, and to your point, do people really want to hear that? Because people say that they do, but I mean, there's a lot of things at play. Sometimes it is, it might make them feel a little bit better than themselves to know that somebody is a little worse off than themselves.
You think so?
Sometimes, maybe, I mean, other times we just want to keep up with what's going on. We just need a mental space break, and it's not too deep, not too serious. It's just what it is. But we all have a choice, and we make it. And I think that, I never think that there is going to be a time where it's all sunshine and cake. That's unrealistic.
Right.
I think that no one is, even if it were, everybody's not going through that at the same time. And there might be moments that you want to look at your struggle or see someone else going through something similar and how they handled it. And it might be informative or inspiring for you and so forth. But it's just something to think about. When we come forward, of course, we will have more trending topics and headlines. We're going to talk about a dinner conversation. Who should pay for a birthday dinner? We're going to get into the best hip-hop movies, all that and more. You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Look, homegirl, I pump like egg twin. Get your friend and your girl in them. My sex drive work out like a gym Kim. Was a girl that I used to hit. You the girl that I gotta quit. See the kitty gotta go lit like a light. In the night, you're the freak, come out, but don't bite. No diggity, who took you out? No doubt when I first got down, made a bro shout. Look out, make it live, dip and dive, stand alive. Shoot me sugar, there it is. Now we talking, swear this. I'm leaving you without a risk, but I still love the kids. What you think? I'm him, girl, get your mind
KBLA
checked.
1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Esther Dillard, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. 2 Black defendants are among the 19 people facing